Hello my friends and welcome back. It's Friday, and not only Friday but the 15th of March Friday. What does it mean? Well, nothing for the West, but in Russia it is the election day, the start of the election weekend, 15th to 17th of March. Putin will be elected as president once again, and I can even tell you the percentages because they have always been the same for the last 20 years. 77 something 0.7%. So sometimes it's 77%, sometimes it's 97%. It ends with the 7 and it's the majority and Putin will be elected back. But I'll bring you the most important news and how have things gone with a few hours of elections in Russia already. And things have gone not smoothly, let me tell you this. First of all, they allow voting online, of course. Well, every respectable country should nowadays, and the online voting servers crashed, so you cannot actually vote because it's overwhelmed and they cannot handle the pressure. Yep, it crashed. So you better not vote online and go and vote physically present. And how does it look like when they vote physically? You better go and vote with your hand, with your pen, physically in the voting box. And here we can see what it looks like. This is the voting box, this is the pretty face, and this is the boot in your face if you choose the wrong candidate. Yes, a soldier will accompany every voting box in the Russian Federation, so to make sure you make the right decision. Democracy, everybody. Now, my friends, we'll watch a video that illustrates the Russian election 2024 perfectly. It is exactly how it is. It's priceless. So which one do you like? This one. No, wait, give me your finger. Give me your finger, look. This one, yeah? This is correct. No, this one. No, this one, look. He's the norm, handsome. But I want this one. No, Aglashka, let's speak. No. Little Aglashka wants some democracy as a small Russian child, already wanting some democracy and wanting to have the power of choice. But his mother has been raised up by 20 years of Putin, so she will guide him in the right direction of totalitarianism. My friends, in this video you can see that Russian polling stations use ink that can be erased with heat, and this has been recorded in Kursk and Rostov-on-Don so far. This means that people vote, then the guys who count the votes erase the ink and they can cast another vote. So I know, I mean, it's Russia, it's all a sham, it's a fake election. They don't have democracy, they never had it for the last 10 to 15 years. But the fact that they are still playing the game is like a theater for me. I'm sitting in the front row eating popcorn and seeing how they play the game of elections. This is what it is. It is all a big play sham. My friends, French President Emmanuel Macron has made a turn of 180 degrees in his attitude towards Putin and Russia. I remember the first days and months of war when it was a time of fear and uncertainty and even panic in the West. The French president was calling Putin almost every month, trying to appease him and talk to him, and he lost a lot of respect in my eyes. So up until now, the points of the French president in my scala have been very low. But suddenly, a few days ago, he changed everything. Suddenly, he spoke out about Russia, about Putin, and the red lines. And his points almost entirely match the points that I have been giving on this channel for the last 2 years. So I cannot help to admire a little bit that he has the balls suddenly to speak out. I do hope these words will be followed by actions. But I will read out to you what he said yesterday in the French national television. I'll read you a very short summarizing description so you don't have to watch the whole 1-hour interview. Quoting the French president here: "Today we are not in a situation where we need to send troops to Ukraine, but we do not rule out such a scenario." He has doubled down on the decision that France is ready to send the troops to Ukraine. In this case, France has no intention to go on the offensive. We will never take the initiative. This lays out the rules that in his mind the French troops would be doing defensive duties and non-combat duties, never going on the offensive. That will relieve and free up Ukrainian troops who are doing these duties right now to go on the offensive. It would be a huge aid for Ukraine, and I personally would not oppose sending these troops to Ukraine. Also, I would not oppose sending Estonian troops to Ukraine, because this war is not about Ukraine. It is also as much about the Western security and the world order, so we all are involved in it. There will be no peace if Russia wins, and peace is not the surrender of Ukraine. What does this mean is, like the Pope said recently, and he lost all respect in my eyes, that Ukraine should negotiate with Russia and make peace. And in the Pope's eyes, the peace is the surrender of Ukraine. And Macron right now said the peace is not the surrender of Ukraine, but peace is the defeat of Russia. That is very important distinction. And also some people in the West saying peace for Ukraine, they're protesting. No, I am not for peace for Ukraine. I am for the victory of Ukraine and under Ukrainian conditions, meaning the liberation of all Ukrainian lands, territories, including Crimea, Donbas, and Luhansk, and Ukrainian national and territorial integrity and their future accession into EU and NATO. We have put too many restrictions on our vocabulary. This is what Emmanuel Macron said, and I do agree. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz is... Scholz and the Pope are on the lowest level on the respect scale in my eyes right now. They just men without courage. They are afraid. I can see the fear in their eyes. They're afraid of Russia. Russia works with fear. They export fear. That's their greatest weapon. Fear is a choice. So I feel ashamed a bit that European Union, which I also represent as a citizen, has leaders like the Pope and Scholz. Macron says, I did everything to establish the word Minsk agreements, negotiations held under the auspices of France and Germany with Ukraine and Russia. And I do agree, because I reported a lot on what he did at the beginning days of the war, and I did not like it. He appeased Putin, tried to speak to him while other leaders in the EU already didn't. And I saw this as a sign of weakness, and I still do. Well, now he has gone quite the opposite and is saying that he tried. The diplomacy didn't work. Yes, he did. He tried a little bit too much. But now... I'm glad he finally made up his mind and went to the true path, true language with the Russians, which is the language of force and power and actions. You cannot talk with them. You have to punch them in the face, and then they will respect what you say. We are not going to escalate. We are not at war with Russia. This is what Macron says, and I do not agree with it. Whether we like it or not, Russia is at war with us. We are not at war with Russia. Yes, NATO is not, but Russian propaganda and people and the president believe that they are at war with us, so we don't have a choice. We are effectively at war with Russia. Imagine you're on a street and a guy comes up to you and starts hitting you in the face, and you raise up your two hands and are like, whoa, I don't want to fight you. I'm not at war with you. I don't want to be aggressive. Let's talk about it. And he keeps hitting you in the face. What do? Yes, some people would keep speaking, keep talking to him while taking huge punches in the face. Blood comes out of their noses, bruises in the eyes. While what I would do is defend myself any way possible. It might not mean huge aggressive actions against the other fighter, but it means defending myself 100%. And if that means that the best defense is offense, I would do that also. It's time for actions, time of words is over. Macron says, we are ready to use all the resources at our disposal to achieve our goal, which is that Russia should not win. Now, I don't like the wording that Russia should not win. What I like is Ukraine will win. Why are we still talking about Russia? Why? It's still going according to Russia and Putin. Doesn't matter what the Russians do. Doesn't matter at all. Ukraine will win and we will do everything for it. Doesn't matter what Putin thinks or where his red lines are. We should be the one setting the red lines for him, since we are stronger. If you compare military capabilities with Russia, they're not even on the same scale. So why are Western leaders being such I cannot say the word here on YouTube, but they should be the one setting the red lines. Why do they bow down then? We will look everywhere for ammunition in all countries of the world to buy them for Ukraine. Good, keep it that way. We will make about 75 Caesar guns for Ukraine. Great. The French Caesar guns are very precise, very expensive and very accurate. They're good weapons if you can buy them. And if French are making 75 Caesars for Ukraine, this is huge, this is very big. So in my eyes, Emmanuel Macron got a lot points right now, respect points. He rose out of the depths he was in due to his diplomatic actions at the beginning days of war. Time for diplomacy was over by then for me from the first day. If the tanks roll over the border, no diplomacy anymore, only self-defense, maybe even aggression. But he was talking to Putin. Now he came out of that hole. Now he has said a lot of good words, but they need to be followed by actions. Otherwise, again, it is a sign of weakness if you speak and if you don't do. So Macron will leave us hanging. It's a cliffhanger. If he will follow through with his actions, let's see. If he does, that man will get a lot of respect in my eyes. My friends, Belgorod is bombarded by Ukrainian forces for the third day in a row. The situation continues. I would have guessed that the hit and run and the guerrilla tactics of the Russian Volunteer Corps would be faster. They go in, they go back out, already doing a lot of damage to Russia, but they're still in. 3 villages of Russia have been liberated by those forces. We can even call them Russian separatists or pro-democratic Russian army. And even more villages are being liberated. And there was a helicopter landing or a helicopter amphibious landing, I don't know how you call it, in the Russian village of Kozinka or city of Kozinka. It is a pure Hollywood movie. Crazy stuff is happening. But before that, I still want to talk a little bit about how Belgorod is bombarded. It is the biggest city close to Ukrainian border, about 30 kilometers from Ukrainian border, and Ukraine has not hit them back. Belgorod area has been bombarding Kharkiv with S-300 missiles. Yes, S-300 anti-air missiles on the ground targets for 2 years now, and the issue with these missiles is they have a ballistic trajectory like that. Very fast missiles, you cannot shoot them down. Ukraine has not been able to shoot down any S-300s. They do hit Kharkiv and do a lot of damage. They're not precise, but it's an urbanized area. Somebody will get hurt. Ukraine hasn't responded for 2 years. Well, now enough is enough. They are bombarding Belgorod. And if Russians in Belgorod think this is terrorist tactic, then they should think what their own regime has been doing to Ukraine for the last 2 years. I have nothing to say. I don't condemn this bombardment of Belgorod. They deserve everything coming to them. Also, my friends, they deserve what I'm going to say next, because this is insane. And now, if you do have popcorn in your home, pause the video and go get it. Russians claim that Ukrainians launched an assault with helicopters in Belgorod. Not in the Belgorod city, but in Belgorod region, in the city of Kozinka. The enemy has landed troops from helicopters. There are fierce battles in the area, in the city of Kozinka, where the choppers landed near. Battles on the streets are going on. Close quarters. Soldiers from the scene report this. Fighting also continues in the area. The enemy is gaining strength and equipment from Kharkiv. They have blurred this, but I actually know it by heart because I've seen this report so much in the last 24 hours. From Kharkiv area is the supplies coming from. This is not fake. There are battles going on. The enemy is being destroyed. The work is underway. Well, we'll see, because the Russian Ministry of Defense actually claimed 3 days ago that all of the Russian Volunteer Corps fighters were destroyed at the first day. But today we're getting videos of them being in Kozinka, them taking prisoners of war from the Russian conscript force defending the border. You heard correctly. Conscripts are sent to defend the border. Of course, they give up. Now, the fighters of the Russian Volunteer Corps every night have broadcasted the message to Russian citizens of Kursk and Belgorod cities to evacuate, that we will continue bombardment in the morning. This is already a goodwill gesture, because what the Russians do is just bombard with missiles and shells Ukrainian civilians day and night, no warning. What the Russian Volunteer Corps fighters did, the democratic Russian army did, is they have warned about every offense they take in beforehand, leaving option for civilians to leave the area, which is, in my eyes, a lot of respect for that. But what does Russian Federation or Putin's goons or riot police do? Russia does not release people from the Belgorod region. They use them as human shields the representative of GUR, says. Meanwhile, the Siberian battalion declares that there is an abnormal flow of cars from Graivoron in the direction of Belgorod. The thing is, we have reports in Belgorod that train stations and bus stations have been surrounded by riot police, making human walls and the shield walls, not letting people leave the city because Putin wants to use the civilians of Belgorod as human shields to force Ukrainians to get more civilian casualties. It's really bad and it's really bloody, and it's the election day. So this is Putin's tactics. My friends, the Russian volunteer corps fighters have taken prisoners of war from the Russian conscripts that were sent to defend the border. Yes, these are conscripts, the mandatory conscript service in Russia. You just go as an 18-year-old man. They send you to train immediately next to the border, and suddenly you have these professional, almost special forces fighters attacking your positions. What's the outcome of this? Well, we have drone footage of the outcome. On this picture, this still image, you can see a pole and a white flag. And now it's a longer video, and it's confirmed that this indeed is a surrender flag of the Russian conscript unit in these destroyed defensive positions. The Russian Democratic Army units are just about 200 meters away from this position, and they are taking prisoners, these conscripts. So yeah, Putin's meat wave conscript defensive tactics have not proven to be very effective here. My friends, in this video we see again the defensive lines of Ukraine, static defensive lines being built out in the Kharkiv region, connecting all the way to Donbass. They call it the Donbass line. It is 3 defensive lines in the depth after like 1, 2 or 3 kilometers. They have defensive positions, outlooking firing sectors on every way 360 degrees after every 1 kilometer, and they have dragon's teeth, mines, anti-tank ditches, trenches, fortified bunkers with concrete. This line will be impenetrable by Russian forces or by Russian tactics, because the tactics that Russia uses are exactly what these kind of static defenses defend against. Meat tactics and mass armored vehicle assaults. Exactly what a static defensive line fights against. And you can see these concrete defensives, they are for glide bombs, because unfortunately one of the most effective Russian weapons has been their glide bomb. Of course, they need to glide them from planes, and they were losing a lot of planes if they started using them more. But the bombs, if they do reach, they do a lot of damage. But this is great. These lines will hold, I have no doubt about it, because in no area Russians have even reached these lines. So they have even issues with the forward defensive positions. If they reach these beasts of defensive lines, they're not going to penetrate it. Also, since I mentioned mines, this is a Ukrainian anti-tank laying mine. And as you can see, the string makes sure all of the mine distances are equal. And this lays mines very fast. And if you have 400 or 500 kilometers of defensive static lines with dragon's teeth and anti-tank ditches, you need a lot of mines. And of course, laying them with just soldiers, you might lose the soldiers to Russian shelling, and it takes a lot of effort and energy. This is so much easier and faster and more efficient. Also looks very cool. My friends, this is a satellite photo of a Russian oil refinery of Novoshatinsk. This oil refinery was mainly producing diesel products for the army. Of course, not solely, but mainly for the army. Now, this oil refinery was attacked in the last 2 days by Ukrainian drones. There was a huge fire, which has now been put out, but the owner of the oil refinery, the leader of it, reported that it suspended all activity because of the damage to the infrastructure. Now, I've mentioned it many times before, fixing this damage takes a lot of time, because first of all, there's a lot of piping, a lot of wiring, a lot of tech that was made by West, so they cannot really make it anymore. They have to import it from China. It takes a lot of time. They have to identify what has been damaged. So for months, this will probably be out of action, and it was making diesel for the army. So, hugely successful attack by the Ukrainians. I will not stop reporting on these oil refinery hits because, although they are repetitive, they are deadly for the Russian economy. As I mentioned in the last video, my friends, Putin and Kremlin have been yapping and barking about their nuclear weapons because that's the last bluff they have. Well, now the West has had enough, and they have made their own render of what happens to Russia when they use any kind of nuclear weapons. Let's watch the video. These are real render of real locations where United States and the Western submarines could hit Russia with nuclear weapons, and they would hit because these targets are preset. And each of these missiles is an ICBM. And you can see one by one, all Russian cities can and will be destroyed. So if they want to play this nuclear threat game, we can do it also. The West has had enough with Russian barking. They should remember that the West also has nuclear weapons. There will be nothing left of Russia. So Putin should think twice before making any kind of threats again. Especially when you do threat, you need to follow it through with an actions. Otherwise, you just show your weakness, that you're a man of words and no actions. Estimated fatalities 40 million already, and we have only half of Russia right now. So this strike would wipe the country off the world. My friends, and for fun here, I'll bring you a nuclear test website where I go to Tallinn, my town where I'm right now, and I'll show you how close I am to Russian border. Boom, here is Russian border, and here is St. Petersburg. It is close as far to me as Stockholm. So it's really close. It is closer to me than Lithuania. Such a small area here. And let's take a nuclear bomb and let's first of all take the North Korean nuclear bomb. Tested in 2013, so the biggest one that they have right now detonates. It's so tiny. Tiny North Korean nuclear warhead. Let's take Fat Man, because this was actually used 20 kilotons in Japan. And look, it's still very tiny. Tallinn is not a big city, 400,000 people. So it's a small city compared to the West. And still, even to that city, it would be not that big. Now let's take Tsar Bomba, the largest USSR nuclear weapon. And that is big. Oh, look at that. That would engulf almost half of Estonia. That would do even damage to Helsinki, I think. So a little small nuclear test for you. See, I am here and I'm still doing this. Do you see fear in my eyes? No, because there's nothing I can do about it. If they decide to destroy themselves, the whole world with nuclear weapons, what can I do about it? I can only enjoy my present moment playing around with these nuclear warheads. So have fun and choose not to be afraid. My friends, the German giant of making weapons, Rheinmetall, intends to open 4 arms manufacturing plants in Ukraine. This is big. Everybody's talking about opening these plants, and this is, since I don't have any flashy footage for you about this, it's nothing now, but if we look at it in the 5 or 10 year span, Ukraine will be the major weapons manufacturer of the European plane. Not Germany, not Poland, but Ukraine. And Poland will be close behind. They will make their own tanks, armored personnel carriers, drones, missiles even, sea drones. They make everything. Bayraktar is opening plants in Ukraine. They're gonna make planes and drones there. So Ukraine is so deeply connected with Western weapons technology that the future for Russia is very bleak. Another Russian chopper has crashed. Well, last time it was a plane, Illusion 76, but now it was a chopper. The thing is, I've said it many times, Russians don't like to maintain anything. Maintaining airframes is vital, otherwise they will start falling off the sky. That's how simple it is. It's simple and robust. Planes and choppers need to be maintained after every flight. You don't do it, yeah, you can fly for a long time, but then after that long time is over, they start falling off the sky because the parts that are not maintained in those, the parts that move and get friction and need to be changed, they just give up and then you fall. This has happened to Russian Mi-8. Now, this was not a military chopper. It was carrying 2 crew members and 20 shift workers. And we don't know how many are casualties, but usually when chopper falls down, there are a lot of casualties. Now, my friends, I'll bring you the analysis of Joni Askola, a Finnish NAFO guy who I have gone to Ukraine with many times. Very nice dude and very Finnish dude. He has a great mind for OSINT military analysis, and I'll read you a summary of his analysis of today. And also you can find his Twitter link in the description below. Why have we recently seen more destroyed Ukrainian equipment? We saw the first HIMARS being destroyed. We saw the Ukrainian choppers on the ground being hit with Russian cluster munitions. We saw Ukrainian air defense systems being hit with pinpoint accuracy. What's up? Well, Joni brings us 4 points, 4 hypotheses why Ukrainian equipment is getting destroyed more accurately and more often in the recent times. One hypothesis is that the Russian ISR, or intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance, has improved. That means Russians just have better recon drones up in the air, flying deeper into Ukrainian territory, finding targets, sending these coordinates more accurately. This could be the reason. This could be the reason because Russians also learn and improve their communication chain, their recon drones, attack drones. So first reason, possibly because they have better recon. Another hypothesis, so the number 2, is that Russia's kill chain has improved and made it faster. Kill chain is the communication of the target to the weapon system. For example, the recon drone finds the choppers on the ground. I'm sure you have seen the video. Ukrainian choppers sends the coordinates to the Iskander crew, which fired a missile. Now, the kill chain has been incredibly slow for the Russians ever since the start of the war. They have been horrible with communication. But in the recent months, their kill chain, coupled with the recon technology, has improved. So as soon as the HIMARS system stops, the recon drone records coordinates, sends it to Iskander missile crew, who is waiting for the coordinates, sends the missile, and boom, we get a hit. Russians have improved. A third hypothesis is that Ukraine has likely moved more air defense systems closer to the front than before, and this has also brought positive results with some recently downed Russian planes than usually, more downed planes. However, when taking such risks, you also get more losses, and this could be the explanation to the loss of more air defense systems than before. Yes, about 2 weeks ago, there were insane Russian aviation losses, and they can only happen because Ukraine has more air defense saturation on the fronts, which also means that more systems can be hit by the Russians, which they have. This has happened. Fourth and final hypothesis it brings out is Ukraine could be using more and better quality decoys than before. So Joni is bringing out the point that some of these hits we see from the Russian recon drone footage can be decoys. Because I personally know some companies who make realistic decoys, as realistic as possible. Even the radar cross-section is mimicked. So by the Russian recon drone, they couldn't make a difference if it's a real air defense system or a real HIMARS or a decoy. There are startups in Estonia, Finland and Ukraine who focus on creating hyper-realistic decoys in any way. So these 4 hypotheses and the combination of these is the reason why we have seen more footage of destroyed Ukrainian high-value equipment on the front. All the links and everything is in the description below. Now, my friends, my favorite part of the video, and I'm so glad I get to do it again, and the reason, of course, is you, because you have joined the Buy Me a Coffee page. Link is in the description below. I'll butcher 10 new names today. Daniel Rosberg, Rupa Trev, Lauri is an Estonian name, definitely. Lanke M. Viese, Soutk, African supporter, Robert Eskeld Ernstson, David Katko. Thank you to these people. If you like my channel, Buy Me a Coffee page is in the description below. If you become a member, I'll be butchering your name. Until my next video, my friends, which will be on Monday, so one day after the finish of the Russian presidential election. I'll see you on Monday, my friends. Slava Ukraini, and bye-bye.